What a day and what a night of CAF Champions League quarterfinal matches. The first leg is officially over, and we're going to take the time to recap all of those matches and a little bit more coming up next on the African Five. So, first leg of the quarterfinals are over. We had four matches on one day, Tuesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. There was an early match where Esperance Tunis played against Mamelodi Sundowns in South Africa. And then the rest of the three fixtures, uh, MC Algiers versus Orlando Pirates, Ahly versus Hilal, and Pyramids versus AFR Rabat, all kicked off at 8 p.m. local time, my time. So much into the evening for the entire continent, but depending on your time zone, then it might have been 9 p.m., it might have been something else. Um, to be completely honest, I only got the chance to watch two matches, and that's Esperance versus Mamelodi Sundowns and MC Algiers versus Orlando Pirates. I went to the stadium for the second match, MC Algiers versus Orlando Pirates, and as a result, I wasn't able to watch the other matches, Al Ahly Hilal and Pyramids versus AS FAR Rabat. I've scoured the internet, I've looked everywhere for replays of those two matches, and it's been 2 hours now and I haven't found anything. I found extended highlights, but not actual full matches. So unfortunately, I'm not going to really be able to comment on those matches in detail. If any of you somehow, some way knows of a way that I can legally or not so legally catch up with full match replays of the CAF Champions League, I would very much be grateful for that. Without further ado, let's get into the matches. So we'll start with the first one that was played last night, or last afternoon, actually, yesterday afternoon. Mamelodi Sundowns versus Esperance de Tunis in Pretoria. Sundowns lined up in a traditional, I call it a 4-3-3. Mudau right back, Kakana Suarez and Modiba left back. Taboa Mokoena, Jaden Adams, Marcelo Allende are three in midfield. Tapelo Morena, right wing. Lucas Ribeiro, and Peter Shalulile up top. Now, the curious thing is that on paper, this looks like a 4-3-3, but really, when Mamelodi Sundowns were in possession in the first half, and they were in possession for a lot of the game, as we're going to get into, it kind of transformed into like a 3-2-2-3. So you had the three at the back were Mudau, who sometimes we're accustomed to him being a wide fullback that gets up the pitch, but he was one of the back three alongside Kakana and Suarez. The two in midfield ahead of them were Mokoena, Tabo Mokoena, and then one of Adams or Allende. They would often switch. One time it would be Allende that would drop back alongside Mokoena in a sort of double pivot, and one time it would be Adams. And then there was like two ahead of them, sort of playing like uh, number 10 positions, attacking midfielders, creating a box midfield. They were often finding these half spaces. And again, that was one of Adams or Allende and Ribeiro. Ribeiro would come in and play in that position as well. And then Tapela Morena and Aubrey Modiba would be pinning the Esperance fullbacks, staying as wide as possible, hugging the touchline, sort of creating those lanes for those half spaces for those number 10s. And then in attack, we had Peter Shalulile. So it was very interesting possession, phases of possession for Mamelodi Sundowns. And I thought it was a good game plan from Miguel Cardozo. Esperance came out in a 4-3-3 that was probably more like a 4-5-1, with Yusuf Belali as a striker instead of playing in his habitual left wing role. He's playing as a false nine, sort of, because Esperance de Tunis, they have major injury problems at the striker position with Ashraf Jabri, Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I think they don't really trust their new striker from Mali, Diakite, yet. He came from Joliba, I think, just a month ago or 2 months ago, and he's really active and creates chances, but at the same time he misses too many chances. I think this fixture was probably just too great of stature to roll the dice with him. So they played Beledi as a false nine, and it's also a way of getting Jan Sass and Elias Mokwana on the pitch at the same time. So they were the ones on the wing. Usually, like I said, this would be a 4-3-3, but because Esperance were playing so deep, I would probably call it more of a 4-5-1. In midfield, I was surprised that Abdurrahman Konate, the Ivorian midfielder, got the call over Hussam Tqa, just because Konate I see is more of an attacking midfielder, a central attacking midfielder. Tqa is a little more, I'd say, defensively responsible, and Konate didn't really end up bringing much to the attacking game anyways for Esperance. Nobody did really. And luckily for Esperance, they had Mohamed Amin Tougai back, the Algerian center half, which was really big news for them. So they paired up a normal central defensive pairing between Tougai and Jalasi. So Overall, no real major surprises here. Last note I would say about the lineups was that Bashir bin Said started the match in goal instead of Amanullah Mamish, and that's due to various different reasons. But we've spoken about the fact that Mamish has struggled this year, and so Bashir bin Said is also a Tunisian international, by the way. I think he's probably won his place for the rest of the year. Um, with Esperance and maybe even with Tunisia, even though the Ayman Dahman has been doing a good job with the Tunisian national team. So, the match started, and immediately you could immediately see that Esperance were not really interested in having too much of the ball. When uh, were in possession of the ball again, they would go into that 3-2-2-3, right? Um, you would see Yusuf Beledi, who was the striker, sort of as the false nine. He would, it was crazy. He would just shadow Teboho Mokoena from minutes 4-5 to minute 30, and his main uh, duty, you can tell his main instructions were do not let Teboho Mokoena pick up the ball from the defenders because he's going to play those behind between the lines passing. He's going to play the long diagonals. And so Yusuf Beledi, I think, was just very, I think at one point Mokoena was just getting very frustrated because he realized that that was the instruction to take him out of the game. And he would even like not even because usually he would drop back between the center halves or drop back just in front of the center halves, and he would just end up going almost to where the fullbacks are to maybe free himself up a little bit. So it was you could see that Esperance were not really interested in pressing. They would let Sundowns' back three have the ball. They're like, okay, cool. But we're not gonna let you even get started making those entry passes into midfield. And they really tried to clog up the middle. And Mamelodi Sundowns were trying to attack through the middle, as Miguel Cardoso said in his post-match press conference, but it didn't really make for much success in the first half. Um, Instead, Sundowns, when they threatened through set pieces. There was an early header from Suarez from a set piece, and Thibaut Mokoena had a long shot from a distance. Again, we know he's dangerous on set pieces. This was a free kick. I think it was just too far out. I think it was like 35 yards out, but he still took a strong save from Ben Said to push it away. Um, and we said, prior to the match, if Sundowns were going to trouble Esperance, it would have to be with change of pace, change of rhythm. I think if Esperance is set in their block, it's just so hard to break them down. And we saw that in the 16th minute, the graphic came up during the match and it said that Mamelodi Sundowns had 88.5% possession and Esperance had 11.5% possession. And I was like, whoa, this is like, even though we knew this was going to happen, this was happening at a much worse rates than I thought it would. But I think the two biggest chances for Sundowns that came in the first half, there was one in the 23rd minute where there was a change of rhythm, a change of pace, and there was a ball that came over the top, but I think Adams and Modiba went for the same ball, and I think Adams just got a touch to it, but he couldn't head it onto goal. And then at the very last action of the first half, in the 46th minute, change of pace again, and this time it was because Esperance had committed men forward, and it was almost like a counterattack. And Sundowns, it was very rare for them to have an opportunity to counterattack because they were always in Esperance's end. But it was very well played. I think it was Marcelo Allende at the heart of it. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, lays the ball up to Ribeiro, takes a shot, but he mishits it, and it just sort of, in French, they would say écrasé, it's like completely scuffs it and it just rolls wide. Other than that, that was pretty much the first half. Esperance only really had a few chances. Um, from Elias Mokwena's pressing in the first half. I think in the 8th minute, Mokoena was pressing, and it was just a pedestrian pass from Hulani Mokoena. Oh, sorry, Hulani Mokoena from Rondo and Williams. It was just a very pedestrian pass from Rondo and Williams, and that could have really been costly. And it reminded me a little bit of the Raja Casablanca match in the group stages where uh, Sundowns gifted Raja a host of goal scoring opportunities just from being too pedestrian in the build up play from the back, particularly from Ronald Williams. Um, and really, the last chance was just I don't remember how Jan Sass found himself in that position, but there was a 2-on-1. Jan Sass was on the ball, dribbling at a Sundowns defender, the last Sundowns defender. Elias Mokwena is on his bike and he's making the run. And Jan Sass doesn't pass it to him, the Brazilian. This is in the 38th minute, and I'm screaming at my television set, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, how do you not make that pass? You can't even say that you didn't see him. He was right in front of you." It I as soon as that happened, I wrote, "This feels like Liverpool FC with the ego problem." When they had Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane, Firmino who didn't really have an ego, but it felt like at times Salah and Mane were sort of competing with one another to see who can get better statistics, but who's going to be the better African player. And at times they wouldn't pass each other the ball, and they seemed like pissed off at one another. I think there's a little bit of that going on with Jan Sass, maybe because maybe he feels like he's being overshadowed by Mukwana and Beledi. I know that's like a little bit of a reach, and I'm making deductions based off of a game action, but it was that egregious. It was so egregious that he didn't make the pass that I'm starting to find theories about why he didn't make that pass. Mukwana was in, and that was a clear as day goal scoring opportunity. Anyways, at halftime, Cardozo said he wasn't happy at half, and he makes a tactical switch. He brings on Lunga, who always reminds me of Eric Abidal. So good defensively. And even like long and leggy, stylistically, he reminds me of him as well. And he also brings on Artur Salas, and he switches to like a 4-2-3-1, uh, even in possession. And I think it was smart because I like playing a taller striker as a winger, sort of, because if you know that you're struggling to penetrate Esperance through the middle, you're probably going to try to get the ball out wide, put in some crosses. Salas might be able to help out in that sense. Um, so yeah, the width wasn't really with the Morena and Modiba wasn't really threatening too much. We add some height for some crosses, and like I said, I think that was probably a good decision. In the 53rd minute, we have a goal. What a goal and what a celebration. My celebration was that celebration was my favorite part of it. It was like ah, ah, skipping, 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 skipping. Not even skipping, like bounding, like as if he's triple jumping Shalulile. Front flip, lands on his butt, and then I don't know what this is, but like what is it like Greek god shooting a bow and arrow? I don't, but I'm gonna start doing that with my young daughter. The bounding part. It looks like so much fun. My favorite celebration of the CAF Champions League so far, I think. That one. Yeah, definitely better than Nkota's gritty. Um, yeah, or Coco Mountain or whatever you guys call it. So yeah, great goal, great celebration. Okay, so let's break down the goal a little bit. This is why uh you bring on there's a few reasons thing. This is why you have players playing in the half spaces. This is why you bring on Artur Salas, and this is why you have Lucas Ribeiro drop deep. And if you go back and watch the match, maybe 20 seconds before the goal, Lucas Ribeiro drops deep and he wants the ball. And I don't recall who had the ball, but they didn't give it to him. It might have been Kakana or Mokoena or something like that. They go to the left, and his head drops. And this is the 53rd minute, and I'm thinking, that's not a good sign. I remember I was writing it down. I was like, Lucas Ribeiro is losing patience in the 53rd minute. Not a good sign. Esperance's defensive block is getting to Mamelodi Sundowns. And then the ball swings back, and Ribeiro's in the same position. And he gets his head up and he puts in a great cross to the far post. Now, the interesting thing about this goal action is um, the ball is swung back to Ribeiro from Jaden Adams, actually. Now I remember who it was. It was Jaden Adams. And when you see that, Jaden Adams is maybe 35 yards away from goal. And as soon as he makes that swing pass, I think he sees the lane in the half space. And Cardozo was talking about Artur Salas distracting the defenders. Say whatever you want. The point is that Sundowns are overloading the Esperance end. And when you do that and you have players in the half space and they can make those darting runs into the box, man, that creates such a problem for the opposing midfielders because Jaden Adams, like I said, is 35 yards away. He's being marked by Onuche Egbelu, a very good player from Nigeria, 21 years old for Esperance de Tunis, a defensive midfield destroyer. Um, and Adams makes the swing pass and he's on his bike and he goes. And Ogbelu never in his mind is thinking, okay, I gotta track this because he's going to be on the end of a looping cross that's going to end up in the 6 yard box. Ogbelu, to his credit, is like trying to track back, but he's not going full sprint and full pace because he thinks there's no way that Adams is going to be on the end of this. But Ribeiro puts in a great ball in a great area, and sure enough, Adams is on the end of it. Don't underestimate the technical ability of, controlling such a long ball like that and playing it square to Shalulile. And don't underestimate the finishing ability that's necessary for Shalulile at such close quarters to lift that above Ben Said. Very good goal. And it's one of those goals. I don't want to say it's indefensible, but you have to be 100% concentrated defensively to stop that goal, and no team ever is 100% concentrated for 45 minutes of a half. So if Sundowns do actions like this two, three, 4 or 5 times per game, they're gonna score goals. Because, like I said, nobody's 100% alert defensively for the entire match. So yeah, uh, great ball, great ball square, great run, great goal. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And it's one of those where you even struggle to find a player to blame from Esperance because, like I said, it was just everything was just played so well. Ogbelu technically, but not really his fault either. If every single time a player from midfield makes those darting runs, he goes back, he's going to be completely out of gas. Anyways, after the goal, I thought it was mature from Esperance to not really panic. You could see they weren't really panicking. They weren't really rushing themselves. This is a sign of a team that has experience in CAF Champions League. At times you think, oh, I have to get a goal. We can't lose 1-0. 1-0 in these home and away ties is a very, very good result, either for a home and away side. Um, but the worst, what's worse than 1-0 is obviously 2-0. And I've seen so many times teams go down 1-0 and they commit everybody forward to take a second goal. And then they just think to themselves, if only we kept it at 1-0. So no real panic, no real rush. I didn't make too many notes for the rest of the second half, but at the 75th minute, I had to leave. Um, I looked on the extended highlights. There weren't too many chances towards the end of the match. Um, from what I understand, Cardozo brought in Maseko. He put in some defenders, tried to make sure that they weren't, too naive defensively. At the same time, adding pace to the attack. Cool, cool. And Esperance were sort of in a position when you listen to the coach at that post-match press conference. We don't have our strikers. They're all injured. We're waiting for them to come back. Not satisfied with a 1-0 loss, but everybody knows that the second match is going to be different. And Cardozo said that. He said Esperance at home will be another game. I'm quoting directly. And this is respecting the competition, is understanding that we won the 90 minutes, but the second 90 minutes is going to be completely different. Maher El-Kenzari, the coach of Esperance, said in Tunisia it will be a different game. Everybody understands that. So yeah, great performance from Sundowns. Overall, 80% possession. If there's only one criticism I would have for Sundowns, it's that there were 3 shots on target. And how many times have we said this about Sundowns in the CAF Champions League, whether it's this year in the group stages or last year as well? Have a lot of possession. We need to create more clear goal scoring opportunities. Cardozo even said it himself, especially in the first half. Um, Cardozo was saying, there was no space in the middle of the pitch. We had to do a better job of bringing the ball laterally one side to the other, forcing their midfielders to run back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Eventually, they're going to get tired. They're not going to run. That will free up the spaces, and then we could create more opportunities. The point is, Sundowns didn't do it, especially in the first half. So they didn't create as much as I wanted. That's the only slight criticism. But other than that, very mature, very sober performance. First time Mamelodi Sundowns beat Esperance in the CAF Champions League. So hey, hats off to them. And there were some incidents, I think, at the end of the match between Esperance fans and I think even Sundowns fans. I can't comment on it simply because it'd just be irresponsible of me because I to this moment I didn't see the videos. I've seen text messages saying that Esperance fans started it. No, 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 no. I've been in stadiums, like you can't tell what happens unless you're there. And to be honest, it's for me it's just not interesting. Like I'm much more interested in talking about, Lucas Ribeiro in the half space than some petty scuffles at the end of the match. But yeah, violence is not good, obviously, and we need to condemn it wherever it happens. But yeah. Um, so yeah, I turned off the match at 75 minutes because I had to go to the stadium. It was 3:30 and kickoff was at 8 p.m. But I was checking Google Maps and the blue itinerary was quickly becoming orange and then red. So I knew that people were in the stadium and I knew that I had to make sure I get there. Um, so I got to the stadium, I think 3 hours ahead of time. No, sorry, I left 4 hours ahead of time, 4 hours and a half, and I got there 3 hours ahead of time, 3 hours and a half ahead of time. And immediately when I got there, you could see that I was panicking because I got there and I looked at the stadium. You're walking down in the 50th July Stadium, sort of, there's a road that leads up to it, and it's a downhill walk, and you can have a view of the bowl of the 5th of July Stadium, and it looked full. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. I went and I bought a ticket and I sort of ran to the gate and thankfully I got in somehow, some way, in within 15 minutes. And I think what eventually happened is they just wanted to get as many people into the gates as possible and just make sure they shut the door because very quickly after that, the stadium was full. And this is what I said when I did the pre-match preview, um, I said that Orlando Pirates will have never played in an atmosphere like this. And a lot of South African fans said they played the FNB Stadium versus Kaiser Chiefs, and that's 95,000. I didn't really mean to say that 95, like they didn't play in a stadium with more than 67,000 people. That wasn't my point at all. My point was that the amount of venom and intimidation and noise that's coming out of the stadium, in my opinion, is probably more than the FNB Stadium. I could be wrong. I've never been to a match at the FNB Stadium when it's a Soweto derby or something like that. I just think that Algiers would be a little more hostile. So that was my point initially, okay? Um, and we get there, and Pirates come out 2 hours prior to the match to do their pitch inspection, which is very standard, customary practice. And they come out, and immediately fans are whistling, uh, swearing, not really swearing at them, but whistling, booing, lasers. And Pirates go and they line up in their goal, and I'm thinking, what are they doing? And, and I see a cameraman come out, and I thought, okay, they're taking a team photo. It's taking a little bit of time. And then people realized that the Pirates squad was, I don't know if they were pouring something or putting something in the goal. I saw a video after work, like they were pouring a liquid or something in the goal. Then they walked to the halfway pitch, like the kickoff point of the pitch, and same thing. Seems like somebody put something on the halfway line where you kick off. And then they continue walking to the other goal, and now somebody from the MC of Algiers delegation comes and tries to remove something. I don't know exactly what he did because I was looking at the team going to the other goal, and this was happening at the halfway line of the pitch. And somebody else from Orlando Pirates delegation comes and they start fighting. Like, I don't know if they were team managers or something like that. It was wild. And then I go back to the Pirates team and they're in the other goal now, doing the same thing. And people, the Algerian fans are they start singing Allahu Akbar, like God is great, God is greater than whatever you guys are doing. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. They're booing them, boo. Like it was loud, man. Uh, and then eventually, and it looked like the Pirates players, I swear, it looked like they were like laughing, like trolling a little bit. And they eventually walked back, and just immediately it set the tone for the match. Immediately after, there was a guy that came out just with people said it was boiling water or something. It's not boiling water. It's just in Islam, sometimes like the people believe that if you read Quran, the holy book, read Quran over some water, it can have like, spiritual properties or so on and so forth. So people took the water, they started spraying it on the on the goals, spraying it on the middle of the pitch, and then that was to big cheers and everything. And like when you see episodes like this, and they happen very frequently all over the continent, don't let anybody say this is a North African thing or a Southern African thing or West or East. It happens everywhere on the continent. I think immediately the first reaction sometimes is, this is amateurish. What are we doing? It's 2025 and we're still doing this. Me personally, I love it. Like, this is part and parcel of African football. We shouldn't be ashamed of this. This adds spice. This adds a little bit of punch, a little bit of harissa to the football. If we don't have this, like, it'd be so boring. It'd be like European football. This just me. I was sitting at 3.5 hours before the match, no internet because there's 67,000 people around me, so there's no signal, no 4G, no 5G. I think, what the hell am I gonna do for 3.5 hours? And all of a sudden, I have this episode to think about for the next hour or so, and it was just really interesting. And again, I don't think it's something we should be ashamed of. I think CAF should probably do something like you cannot bring foreign objects onto the pitch. But I love these mind games. Like it doesn't have to be putting objects or whatever, but maybe, I don't know, doing whatever you want. Like they could have just went to the net and started doing like a tick, 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 just like a dance with their hands or something like that, and people would have been going nuts. Like, what are you guys doing? It just shows you the superstition. There's a good friend of mine, or not a good friend, but a very good colleague who I consider a friend, Solace Chukwu from Nigeria. who said that, in football we tend to use superstition because um, it explains the arbitrary. Football is an arbitrary game, it's a random game. Sometimes you can dominate, all the parameters can be on your end, and you can lose. There's no explaining it tactically. You can't explain it with X's and O's. So sometimes we use superstition to sort of fill that void, fill the vacuum, and explain the arbitrary and the randomness of it. So I don't think superstition should be taken out of the game. It's part of our daily lives as Africans too. So nothing to be ashamed of. I loved it, but it was, I thought, very curious from the Pirates team. Were they doing this genuinely because they believed it was going to have an effect on the game, or were they just playing mind games? And they were doing it defiantly, showing that they weren't intimidated by being in Algiers in front of that crowd. Um, and so, yeah, after that, players came out for warm-ups, more lasers, whistling. Honestly, I thought that Pirates looked a little bit intimidated. I thought, there's no way they're not intimidated, right? And they did something right before kicking off. They go shake hands with the players and everything. They take the team photos, and then the players got together in a semicircle. Usually teams will like pray or they'll do last minute instructions or whatever they do. And the Pirates team, they lined, I don't know if you guys caught this on TV or not, probably not, I don't think. But they lined up in a line and they linked arms or they held hands as if, usually I see this in Algerian football after a big win, teams will do that and they'll run to the crowd and they'll go, yeah, like hooray, 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 or whatever. So they did that and I thought, what are they doing? Like, and they start running to the crowd. And then at the end, they do the Buck sign. They go like this, you know? And that again set everybody off of off of a cliff as well. Like people were raging, so mad. Like how dare they be this defiant, you know? And it changed my mind because initially I thought they were intimidated, and when I saw them do that, I thought, no, they're not intimidated at all. They're defiant. They feel like they're here on a mission, and they're united, and they're motivated. So that was good to see. These are the reasons why I like to go to the stadium sometimes because if you don't catch us on TV, necessarily. You can pick up on little hints like this, that gives me a little bit of an insight into the character and the mindset and the psychology of the team. Um, but yeah, I remember there was a guy beside me, man. He was like, must have been in his mid 40s, maybe early 50s. Absolutely enraged that that a football team had the gall to do this to him. And just like swearing, spittle flying out of his mouth, and looking at this guy like, man, you probably have kids, man. Relax. How does football make anybody like behave like that? Anyways, let's get into the match itself. Enough of the rest of the stuff. Um, so yeah, Mouloud Diaz, MC Algiers lined up in their typical 4-3-3. Hlemi as right. It was basically exactly what we expected them to do, except for the striker. They have a new striker named Bangura from Guinea. I think he's just 20 years old. They signed him from Hafia Conakry. I've been sort of pumping up Bayezid because his goal scoring record is really good as a striker in the last 2, 3 months. But this guy Bangura, he's been playing. I think this was his fourth match, and he has 2 goals already. He's really good. I watched him again during this match. In his build, he kind of reminds me of maybe Wilfred Boney or rest in peace, Albert Ebose, the Cameroonian striker. Very thick, not that tall, but powerful, strong, low to the ground center of gravity, good control, very powerful shot, very good player. I think this guy's destined for very, very good things. So he started the match and he had a very good match. I thought he was probably Mouloud Algiers' best player. Other than that, no real surprises. Typical 4-3-3. Orlando Pirates came out in a little bit of a different formation than what I'm used to seeing them in. You can call it maybe a 3-4-3. They definitely lined up with 3 center halves with Sibisi and Bukazi and Toki. Um, Now, CBC in possession would sometimes move into midfield in front of Bukazi and Toki, and he would sort of join that, and then it sort of became like a 4-3-3 kind of, or 4-4-2 as a diamond, if you count Lamini playing in the diamond a little bit. Lamini sort of, you know him, he likes to stay in the middle of the pitch, but sometimes he's supposed to be a right winger, but he just tucks in a lot. Um, so yeah, very, very fluid anyways. Like I think sometimes it's useless to try and label formations on the way teams are playing, but it was other than, like I said, I wasn't really surprised by the Pirates formation as well. I mean, by the formation a little bit, but not so much by um the personnel. I thought the personnel was pretty standard. I just like the fact that they used 3 center halves because going into this match, I kept hammering home watch out for set pieces, watch out for set pieces, watch out for set pieces. I think that Rivero using an extra center half maybe is a way of just covering his tracks a little bit for that. So, the match kicked off, and that atmosphere kicked in. This is what I was talking about. Like as soon as Pirates were on the ball, whistling, you could tell there was a lot of pressure. Um, and Mouloudi of Algiers immediately within the first 2 minutes have a half chance. And for the first 15 minutes, they're completely overwhelming, suffocating, pressuring Orlando Pirates. It gets to the point where they're putting so much pressure, they're not really getting clear goal scoring opportunities, but they're putting a lot of pressure. And there's maybe in the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes, maybe 6 or 7 goal kicks. And it gets to the point where there are so many goal kicks, and Pirates are so brave in that they're trying to play the ball out. They're not with the goal kicks, they're not trying to play it long. Even though they have Evanes Makopa up top and he did a great job of winning aerial duels throughout the match. Still, they're more interested in playing the ball out. It almost feels like I was watching a drill, like in training, like, okay. Because they just kept doing it on and on, over and over and over again. Like, okay, if we're facing this high of a press, how do we get the ball out from a goal kick? Honestly, I thought that they were insisting playing the ball out from deep to their own detriment because within the first half an hour, they weren't able to really break that press effectively. Still, what I really admire about Orlando Pirates, and you can tell they have it in their DNA, is that they were trying to continue to play the ball out, no matter in how difficult the position that they found themselves in. They were trying to play it out. They were losing, in my opinion, the battle in midfield. It seemed like MC Algiers players were winning the 50-50s, but Pirates were insisting, completely confident in their philosophy and how they want to play. Around the 35th minute, they actually started playing goal kicks long until the end of the first half. Maybe they got instructions from Rivero. Maybe he realized he had to make an adjustment or something. But until then, they were going to be a little less cautious, a little more cautious. Um, what else? Uh, so yeah, lots of corner kicks from Maloudia. I think they had 8 in the game. I could have sworn there was more in the stadium, but they had 8 corner kicks. And if I think there was more, it's probably because there was probably 8 to 10 free kicks as well, where the ball was being crossed in. And so again, I was hammering, watch out for set pieces, watch out for set pieces. And I thought that this was a problem for Orlando Pirates throughout the year. And I thought they defended them pretty well. There's only one where I think Sipo Chain sort of took a swipe and it hit his own player and went out for a corner kick that was a little bit dangerous. Other than that, I thought they dealt with them very well. Mouloudia didn't take them very well, but I thought Pirates defended them very well. Um, Other than that, I thought there was a lot of technical mistakes. Part of that was due to the pitch condition. Pitch wasn't in great condition and it was overwatered. I don't understand why they water the pitch that much. People were slipping and sliding all over the place, so it wasn't easy to play. In midfield, it was already congested, very intense, lots of 50-50s and duels. So it wasn't easy to play anyways, but the pitch conditions didn't help at all. But yeah, overall, my first half thoughts were that MCA just brought the intensity. Midfield was a battle that I thought MCA won. MCA chances via set pieces, but they didn't do enough. And I really thought there was only 2 good chances for MC of Algiers, one from Bangura and one from Neji, but Sibo Chain was up to the task for both of them. And I thought he was, I don't know if I can call him the man of the match, but man, he made like one slight mistake that I mentioned, but other than that, he made so many decisive stops. And somebody that I think I've been unfair to throughout the CAF Champions League, I think deserves a little more credit. Um, Second half. Murudia quickly created a chance off of another Orlando Pirates goal kick. And then in the 60th minute, Mohamed Kota comes on for Dlamini. I think I overrated Kota a little bit, because of his first impression was that CR Belouiz that match in the group stages. How could I not be infatuated with him? Pause, like, I mean, football-wise. Um, but maybe I overrate him a little bit, maybe I don't give enough due to Salang or Dlamini or some of these other players that can play as well. Hoto in those positions. But I really like him. And one of the reasons why I really like him is I think away from home, he's such a weapon because he has a great understanding of how to play off of his teammates. The first teammate that I'm going to talk about a lot is Evidence Makopa. We saw in the CR Belouiz that match, he wins a flick on and scores. Makopa wins the flick on, Ball falls to Nkota, and Nkota, I think that's the one where he shoots it from a distance. Um, and time again in that CR Belouizdad match, Makopa was flicking on, flicking on, flicking on, and Mofokeng and Nkota were running onto those flick-ons. And you could tell they work on it because they weren't random flick-ons. Like, it's only them three up top. If he flicks it on anywhere else, a Mobility of Algiers defender will take it, but it's almost like magnetic. It goes to Nkota or Mofokeng almost always immediately. So bringing Nkota on, I thought, made Makopa's aerial presence all the more effective immediately in the 60th minute. That's the first thing I would say. So I think that's why he's a good weapon, especially away from home. Is sometimes, away from home, you have to play those long balls to Makopa, who does such a good job of holding up the play or flicking the ball on. And so as a result, again, he just increases the efficiency of that striker and also of the Orlando Pirates' quick transition attacks. Um, and then the goal, it just seemed like a banal passage of play. Heading volleyball, boom, 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 boom. Ball pops up to Mofokeng out of nowhere, gets his head up, sees Nkota on the shoulder of one of the MC of Algiers defenders, Ghazala, who was great the whole game. And Mofokeng plays the perfect ball in. And Nkota didn't hesitate for a second. Again, you can see the chemistry, how they play off of one another. And Nkota gets in behind, and I thought there's no way he's going to hold off Ghazala. Ghazala's a big defender. He's a strong defender. And in Kota, man, he seems like slight and small, but man, he gets low to the ground, center of gravity. He's strong. You could tell he's strong. And he holds off the defender. He doesn't go down for a penalty, and he slots the ball in. And you could hear a pin drop in the 5th of July Stadium. It went dead quiet. Everybody was shocked, like, oh. It was it was very impressive. It reminded me a little bit of 2019 AFCON when I was sitting next to somebody I consider a friend again, a journalist colleague of mine, Jabalu Ngidi, and we were sitting next to each other in Cairo International Stadium when South Africa was playing Egypt, and South Africa scores, and same thing. It was a very similar sensation of like this loud, pulsating stadium. You could hear the drums, do 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 do, do, and the sounds and everything, and then all of a sudden, nothing. And the only thing I could hear in Cairo International Stadium was Njabulo screaming at the top of his lungs. Here, there was none of that. But it's just always impressive hearing that steady noise and then just nothing. Um, so yeah, great goal. MC of Algiers, the problem is when they went 1-0 down, Pirates really shut down any space, and MC of Algiers had no answer. They tried to bring in some subs like Mizyani or Bayezid, but nothing doing. They don't really have, besides Bengura, an aerial presence. They needed somebody like a Makopa probably. Um, so they were trying to cross when they could, but oftentimes there wasn't anybody in the box, or oftentimes it was ineffective. Uh, and what they ended up actually doing a lot was just passing the ball from side to side, side to side. And as I'm doing this, I remember one of the guys beside me. It was funny, man. Sometimes you hear some very creative expressions when you're in the stadium, but the guy was sat behind me was like, they're windshield wipers, you know? Like they were just going left back to center back to center back to right back to center back to center back to left back to center back to center back to right back. It was going like this. Just ineffective because they couldn't get close to Pirates. As soon as they did, Pirates would dispossess them and they would be on the break. And I remember in the 90th minute, 90th minute, Orlando Pirates dispossessed Milude. I wrote it down in one of my notes. Five players committing going forward, and they win a free kick. Five players. And then immediately after that free kick is taken, everybody's back, 10 men behind the ball. So yeah, you could tell that again, everybody knows Pirates are very well coached. I just didn't know if they could put in such a mature performance when they're defending primarily, because like the first match that we spoke about, MC of Algiers had close to 70% possession of the ball, and they had more shots on target than Mamelodi Sundowns. I thought they probably had more clear chances, but Pirates defended well. Nothing to say. They defended well and they took their chance when they needed to. And that really is the key to success in the CAF Champions League. So time and time again, I put like these challenge like in my mind, like I keep thinking, okay, if Orlando Pirates beats Sierra Belouizdad in Algeria, I'll give them respect. And then okay, if they can beat Al Ahly in this match, even more respect. And then okay, if they can do this and they can beat MC of Algiers in the quarterfinal, okay, then I'll take them serious. And they keep doing it. Three trips to North Africa, two in Algeria, one in Egypt. Three victories. Not an unbeaten streak to North Africa. Three victories. Very, very impressive. It's really the best realistic result that was on the table for Orlando Pirates is winning 1-0 because, again, remember that there's the away goals rule. So now MC Algiers to have any chance has to score 2 goals at Orlando Stadium. And we know with the altitude, we know how difficult that's going to be. I think Orlando Pirates are 90% qualified here, and it would really be a shock to me if now Mouloudia goes through. Just such a painful result for a lot of Algerian fans, Mouloudia fans, and because they felt like they played better, and I think they did, especially in the first half. But I thought overall, the better coach side, the side that was truer to their philosophy, won this match. And I think on aggregate over the two legs, we're probably going to see that. Even though this is not over. As long as they keep a positive mindset, MC Algiers can get a goal in South Africa. They can hold on. They can go to extra time and penalties. And that's a possibility, but it's a low possibility. So as I mentioned, I didn't watch the last two matches. Al Ahly beat Al Hilal 1-0 in Cairo International Stadium. Mohamed Hani scores, one of those players that missed the group stages. Very reliable right back. Scores a beautiful goal. I didn't get, like I said, I didn't get a chance to watch. Not surprised by the result. I was thinking that it was going to be a little more convincing from Al Ahly, maybe 2-0 or 2-1 or 3-1 or something like that. But I did think Al Ahly was going to win. And then Pyramids blow out FAR Rabat 4-1. That was slightly surprising to me. I was expecting them to get a convincing win in the preview. I was thinking 2-0, 3-1, something like that. I wasn't expecting 4-1. But then when I saw the highlights, I understood that a lot of it was what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, they did it to themselves. Very poor passing in defense, once from Bukhris, once from the goalkeeper Hamiani, and Pyramids punished them with the quality of Fiston Mayale, two very good finishes close to the goalkeeper like Shalalile, and then Ibrahim Adil. Man, Ibrahim Adil, go look up his two finishes. Two beautiful goals. And we've been banging the drum. Everybody's been banging the drum about Ibrahim Adil. You don't need me to tell you like he's a revelation or something. You guys should all know about him if you're watching African football. I just keep saying, when is he going to be given a chance with Egypt? And it's such a shame because I think he plays the same position as Omar Marmoush, sort of like that, inside forward on the left wing. But I really just, maybe in my opinion, I'd probably play him where Zizou plays. It's just that Zizou has probably more physical exertion. He can probably run a little bit more, be a little bit stronger in the tackle. He's much more of a complete midfielder, maybe. But Ibrahim Adil's creativity is on another level. So I would like to see him. I would love to see, Mustafa Mohamed as a striker, Omar Marmoush, Mohamed Salah, Ibrahim Adil, uh, Mahmoud Trezeguet as a left back, and just do that thing that they were doing, Hussam Hassan was doing, is just throwing on all those attacking midfielders. But that tie I expect to be over. I don't think there's any way that ASFAR are winning 3-0 in Rabat. I don't think they're going to score three. I don't see there's a way they're going to score 3 goals, and I definitely don't think there's a way they're going to shut out Pyramids. So, um, yeah, that tie seems like it's over, and there's an advantage. I mean, from after the first leg, two South African clubs, two Egyptian clubs. Maybe we're going to see that in the semifinals, Egypt versus South Africa. But we've been speaking for a little too long. Thanks again for tuning in. Such a pleasure. The channel is growing very, very quickly. Always very encouraged by all of your comments. I always try to reply to as many as possible. Again, if you do like this podcast, don't hesitate to leave the thumbs up, to comment. I'll try to get back to you. And definitely, definitely subscribe. If you're listening on the audio platforms, a 5-star review would definitely make my day as well. But yeah, we're gonna tune in maybe